Tuesday, September 19th, advanced class, Friday's quiz coming up. Good job, you have a pencil. Good, you've now thrown part of it at me. That was a good choice.
You can have
okay, thanks, though. So the one coming up this Friday is not Socrative. You are not getting a chance to use other people. It is just you and your brain and handouts and stuff like that. You do get to use all the handouts. You can Google answers if you want to, although I'm not sure it's going to help you a whole lot. But that'll be Friday. I think it's like a 15-question one. I'm even going to try and give you guys a little review guide ahead of time to try and help you for those of you who want to do well on it. We visit library on Thursday. And those of you who want to dance for points, we will be giving you an opportunity here in a moment. We will take a couple of you today, and then every day we take a couple more people. So it's an ongoing thing. So if you don't go today, don't freak out. You will get a chance tomorrow, the day after that, the day after that, the day after that, so on and so forth. Storks, what's up?
Okay. So, do the points decrease after like so many days?
Unless you want me to. I wasn't thinking the same thing. Then, suckers, again, you can get them from me. They're in the bag back there. You just let me know before, after class. Eventually, I'll stop reminding you. I figure if you want them, bring money. If not, then who cares about charity? Picky. Remember, bad question. You don't get called on again. That was fun. All right, and then from there, reminding you we have this joyous thing called IXL, and I feel the same way. It wasn't my choice. But again, due Friday, I am going to make one small change. If you do the SMART score of 100, I'm going to bump it up to a 13. I figure if you go that extra bit to go all the way to that perfect score, I figure that gives you a little extra bit of motivation. And you can change those in the extra credit into B points. If you get all the way to the 10 and you would prefer to have 3 B points as opposed to 3 extra credit points, you just have to let me know when you were doing it, and that is fine with me also.
Thank you so much.
But you have until Friday evening for that one. Mate.
Do you get to do like, so I want for extra credit, I want for 100, can I do, I want 1 B point and then 2 extra credit points?
It's easy enough to do. It's math I can handle.
Okay.
Then we're getting ready to have our people practice doing this here in just a moment. We have to go through, and again, if you post it to social media, you have to have all the words that go with it, because that's the whole point of it. So, given, I forgive, if you're excited, it's fine. But from moving forward, I can check date on there, and so now you're going to, because that's the joy of social media, is to tell me when you posted it. So you have to make sure you have all the wordy bits that in case other people, we can't inspire them with our TikToky dance if they have no idea why they're TikTok dancing. So you have to make sure you go through there and let them know.
What if this actually becomes like
viral? Well, then that would just be the coolest thing ever. All right. Let's see. You wanting to start?
Yeah, I will start. I have a question.
What's your question?
Why are people eating paper?
I don't know. Kids
It's
are weird.
so good.
Yep, I just don't even question it. All right. Let's begin. First person.
Give me 1 second. I'll distribute. I'll go second.
Julian it is. Come on over. All right. I will do the hand signs with you. You have to do hand signs, and you also have to do the singy bits.
Okay.
All right, ready? We have.
Characters. Who is in the story?
Good job.
Setting. When and where. Plot. What is happening in the story?
This is why we have to say the words when we do the dancing on TikTok.
Okay,
If not,
I want to say,
I want you to say it too.
okay,
Okay. Now let's actually say it.
okay.
What am I doing?
Pointing.
Good.
Oh, the point of view. Pog. So point of view. How somebody sees the story.
Nicely done.
Lesson.
Which is?
Box like a fish. Oh, the moral of the story.
Right, that's the same thing as lesson.
Yeah.
No.
Wait, what?
This whole thing is what
Oh.
stays. Learn.
Oh, learn. Yeah,
Good.
learn.
What is the
learn.
learning in a story called?
The lesson. Or the moral.
Starts with a
Oh,
T.
theme.
We got there? Okay.
Theme. Wait, I know this.
I know, that's why you volunteered. Trying to make a decision here.
Yeah, I'm starting to think.
Yeah, inside of you. I'm being really conflicted about what I should do.
You gonna hit me?
The internal
Oh,
conflict.
yeah. Yeah, it's internal conflict. And then, so internal conflict, decision making.
Uh-huh.
And then external conflict, someone versus someone, or something versus something.
Don't forget to dance. Normally, that would get you 3 points. But you volunteered to go first, so you get your 5.
Yay! Wait,
Now
did I get like another 5 at the end of the week for the TikTok comment? Okay.
Yeah, the more mistakes you make, the farther from 5 that you get. The more I have to help you, the more of a struggle it be. So now we're going to go girl person.
That's...
Wait, do I still have to do the substitute sheet?
Once it's assigned, you have to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, choices. Ready? Hopefully we're a little stronger.
Characters who is in the story and setting when plot what happens. POV how we see the story. Theme lesson in the story. Internal conflict the decision in the story. External conflict something versus something.
Hey, much better. Go you. Alright. And do I have anyone that's low on points? I'll let those people go first. That kid. Matei! Yeah, but then you weren't ready.
We love you, Mateo.
And I love you too, Matei. Ready?
Characters, who is in the story? Setting, when and where. Plot, what happens in the story? Point of view, how we see the story. Theme, the lesson, and what we learn in the story. Internal conflict. Decision. Combat. It's something versus same thing, which is the external conflict.
There you go. That was only slightly scary.
We love Mateo, guys. Mateo, we trust him.
Sorry about
Tomorrow, we will pick more people to go.
that. How did I go?
Yeah, I just told you, you weren't ready. So then
I'm totally ready right now.
you are now, but you had to be ready then.
I'm ready.
Good job.
I was ready then.
Be ready tomorrow. I know. Light problem.
He
Hi,
did this on
Matei.
purpose. What did I get?
5.
I'm proud of myself.
As you should be. From here, let's see, we got through this with you guys yesterday? Yep. Yay! So let's see, the shortened version for exposition is
Boring stuff.
at the very beginning and it's boring. And then the short version for rising action,
Exciting.
there you go. For climax, pronounced Ermagerd. And then falling action
Explaining what happened in the open.
and resolution.
Boring
Go you on that one. Alright. So what do we have?
Boring beginning stuff. Exposition.
Rising
Evening special.
Whoa!
Then, I don't think we got a chance to do this with you. So we're going to go through and see how well you can apply these things to an actual story. I will read the 5 of them out loud, and then what you're going to be doing is raising hand at the end to see where you vote to see which one it is. So to start off, I'll read all 5, and then you figure out which one you think is exposition, the boring beginning stuff. All right. So we have the fisherman's plan gets the genie back in the jar. The genie begs to be released from the jar. We discover the genie wants to kill the fisherman, and the poor guy must find a way to survive. The fisherman explains his future plans to the genie, and the fisherman only fishes a certain number of times, and his final time brings in a jar. So figure out which one you think. You're not raising your hand yet. You gotta wait till I point to them. So I'm gonna point, and you'll raise your hand when we get to it. So figure out which one you're gonna raise your hand for. I'm not your god. It's okay. And we'll go with nicely done. What comes after exposition? Rising action. Pick the one you want for rising action. No. Let's try this again. Oh, we're on different. Not right. Huh.
Oh
I don't know what that is.
Paper.
Not bad. All right. So there. After rising action is.
Climax.
All right. It should get easier. Now you only have 3 to choose from. And nice little. After climax is.
Falling out.
Boring.
Yay!
And then this one is going to be.
Resolution. I'm smart, guys.
Let's add in our second to last thing on notes. We have irony next week, where we're going to take a look at foreshadowing, which is going to help us with our story today. And with our story coming up, which you guys will be reading for the quiz on Friday. You guys know what foreshadowing is?
I do. I do. It's like where you foreshadow. Making a prediction.
It's when you
Make a prediction.
lead up to a story, like you say something, but it's gonna happen in the story.
It's like an inference.
It's something you predict something that's gonna happen.
It's when you're given hints to what happens in the story.
It's more the hints, the clues that are in the story. Yes, you make inferences from it and stuff like that, but the idea is that throughout the whole thing, it's little clues the author puts in there to help you out. Like today's story that we're going to get into with about a kitty cat that is black, we're going to have these little things in the story that start telling you about the ending long before we get to the ending. And if you start paying attention to all these clues, you can kind of guess what's going to happen before we get there. And then the same thing with the one on Friday, we'll get to theirs, so you have to be able to guess what's going to happen. And then next week, we're going to read a story that has no ending like Lady and the Tiger, except there is an ending. It's just hidden in the story, and you have to use the clues to find it. So we're going to try and help you with that. Yes, what's up, Julie?
Can I actually bring my head on that?
Yeah, after class. Okay.
Okay. Wait, please no, you're gonna bring my iPad.
It's not mine. Alright. You can't leave stuff on desks. That's why we had to make her move her
What about
stuff.
chairs?
Yeah, chairs are fine. That's what she did. Then, let's get to, and those iPads are encased in a brick. It's going to take more than that to break that.
Black cat.
Good job. We're going to take a look at a story called Black Cat.
I got an Edgar cat.
I should rub that. Edgar Alien Poe.
Why is the cat black?
So as we start, we're going to have you figure out characters and then also the setting and stuff like that. As we get into it, no, I'll wait on that one. Storks, are you just waving at me?
Sorry, what?
Storks, or are you waving at me? Your hand did this.
I'm like, sure, like.
Good conversation. Feeling closer already. All right. Callie.
Is his name Edgar Alien Poe?
Yeah, it's just right in front of you. Good stuff. You're special. Hi. Right. The Black Cat.
Black cat out.
For the most wild, yet most unpleasant story which I am about to write, I neither expect nor ask for belief. Crazy indeed would I be to expect it, in a case where my very senses reject their own evidence. Yet insane I am not, and very surely did I not dream it. But tomorrow I die, and today I would unburden my soul. So, unlike our normal ones, because what's exposition supposed to be? This one tells us what's going to happen to him tomorrow, which is that's me part of our foreshadowing. He is going to tell you a story where something happens and you are not going to believe it, and whatever it is going to lead to him dying tomorrow. But that was our little teaser, and now we're going to move into exposition. Just now we're going to get a little bit of our boring background.
Do cats have 9 lives?
And we're also going to get to point of view, because you already know what the point of view is so far.
First person.
How do you know?
Because it says I.
So in here, it's never going to say the main character's name. He is always just going to say I. It is not Edgar Allan Poe. That is the author. There's a difference between an author and a character. The character's name is Dude. I have no idea. He doesn't have a name. But not Edgar Allan Poe. That's just the guy that wrote it. So keep them separated. Keep them separated. Picky.
So, did this guy actually die in real life?
I apologize. That was your one question. Crawford.
What about in an autobiography?
Well, that would be different. That would be an autobiography. Don't you try and picky your questions. Alex?
So, can we maybe vote on the name of the character?
Reed?
Can you please never call on Alex or Piconi ever again?
Done. And we're probably going to add other people to that list as we keep asking all kinds of fun questions. Moving on from there, learning is the best. Now we're going to get into exposition. Now that we've done a little teasy bit, we're going to the boring beginning and find out background information. Since I was a baby, I was noted for the happiness and humanity of my personality. My tenderness of heart was even so obvious as to make me the butt of my friends' jokes. I was especially fond of animals and was indulged by my parents with a great variety of pets. With these, I spent most of my time and never was so happy as when feeding and petting them. This oddity of character grew with my growth, and in my adulthood, I derived from it one of my major sources of pleasure. To those who have cherished affection for a faithful, gesundheit, and friendly dog, I need hardly be at the trouble of explaining the nature of the intensity of the satisfaction I had. All of that big paragraph, with Edgar Allan Poe it gets kind of dense, so I break it up a bit more often because it's easy to get lost. That whole paragraph is just telling you what about his personality.
He loves animals.
Keep that in mind. He loves pets to the point where his friends made fun of him. He is like such an animal lover.
So this is a
Love
kid
pets.
right now? Or like an adult? Or this is, yeah.
He's doing it as a flashback to when he was younger.
Okay.
He's like, even since I was a wee little baby, I have loved animals. We get along great.
Okay.
Ramos?
My mother read this to me as a bedtime story.
That makes sense. Explains a lot. I married early in my life and was happy to find in my wife an attitude not unlike my own. Observing my soft spot for domestic pets, she lost no opportunity of purchasing those of the most agreeable kind. We had birds, goldfish, a fine dog, rabbits, a small monkey, and a cat. Oh, and what is his wife's opinion on animals?
Domestic.
He likes it.
She likes them also.
Domestic violence.
Yeah, domestic just means at home.
Oh.
Kid turning around. What's up?
Isn't it cool to have my kids a pet?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you because you're busy working. The cat was a remarkably large and beautiful animal, entirely black and friendly to an astonishing degree. In speaking of his intelligence, my wife, who at heart was not a little touched with superstition, made frequent references to the ancient popular notion which regarded all black cats as witches in disguise. Not that she was ever serious upon this point. You guys have heard that before, right? The black cats are like haunted and like the bad luck kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah,
you
the
guys
black cats cross your path. Same idea. All right. Pluto, this was the cat's name, was my favorite pet and playmate. I alone fed him, and he followed me wherever I went around the house. It was even with difficulty that I could prevent him from following me through the streets. Real quick, you guys, Pluto is not from Disney. Do you guys know the original Pluto?
Yes.
The planet. But do you know why the planet is named that?
Because it's involved.
dog.
And what was Pluto the god of?
No, the dog.
Love.
Nicely done. The god of death and the underworld.
Wait, are
So
you serious?
that's the name. They call it. Why would they name this cat after the god of death?
Because he's
a
a witch.
Because he's a black cat, so it's the god of shadows. So you name your cat after the god of shadows.
Makes sense.
Our friendship lasted in this manner for several years, during which my general attitude and character, through the effects of alcohol, had, I blush to confess it, experienced a radical alteration for the worse. I grew, day by day, more moody, more irritable, more regardless of the feelings of others. I suffered myself to use harsh language to my wife. At length, I even attacked her with personal violence. So this guy who was super happy and friendly, something changed. And what changed in him?
Alcohol.
And what did the alcohol do to him?
Made him grumpy.
Made him grumpy to the point where he would even abuse his wife. So it starts off, he's a wonderful, happy person, loves animals, everything is great, starts drinking, things change.
That's a life story.
My pets, of course, were made to feel the change in my personality. I not only neglected, but abused them. For Pluto, however, I still retained enough thought to restrain me from mistreating him, as I made no hesitation of mistreating the rabbits, the monkey, or even the dog, when by accident or through their affection, they got in my way. But my disease grew upon me, for what disease is like alcohol? And at length, even Pluto, who is now becoming old and consequently somewhat bad-tempered, even Pluto began to experience the effects of my bad temper, to the point that when Pluto had to go sit in Struggletown and turned his body to put his feet up, he lost points, which you would wonder, why would a kid do that in Struggletown when they're trying to hold on to the few points they have? Oh, sorry, I got distracted on that part of it there. Yeah, you just face that way. As soon as you turn and put your feet up and use that chair, I get to charge you points. You're not comfortable. You're being tortured.
Ha ha ha!
You don't mind if I move the chair back? But at least you have the story out, so I don't have to charge you points for that.
The story's right here.
On the ground. I'm aware, Pumpkin. One night, returning home, quite intoxicated from one of my haunts about town, I thought that the cat avoided my presence. I seized him when, in the fright of my sudden attack, I'm going to pause now. There's a scene coming up which may be a bit disturbing, so just keep that in
I have a
mind.
question. I have a question. What does seize mean again? I'm kind of like.
There you go. Does that help you out? You're welcome.
He's killing me!
Seized him, like I did to young Reed, when in his fright at my sudden attack, he inflicted a small wound upon my hand with his teeth. The fury of a demon instantly possessed me. I knew myself no longer. My original soul seemed at once to take his flight from my body, and a more than cruel wickedness, alcohol nurtured, filled every fiber of my body. I took from my waistcoat pocket a small knife, opened it, grasped the poor beast by the throat, and deliberately cut one of its eyes from the socket.
Okay.
I blush, I burn, and I shudder while I pin this horrific crime. So we went from kitty cat to kitty cat.
No, where's this stone at?
And so apparently in his drunkenness, he grabbed cat bit him, scratched him, and he poked him. When my reason returned with the morning, when I had slept off the effects of the night's sins, I experienced an emotion, half of horror, half of remorse for the crime of which I had been guilty. But it was, at best, a weak and vague feeling, and my soul remained untouched. I again plunged into excessive drinking, and soon drowned in wine all memory of the frightening deed. So after he did it, did he feel bad?
Yes.
Absolutely. Does it stop doing what he did?
No.
Nope, keeps doing it. But he did feel kind of bad for a moment and thought, man, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, look, alcohol. And then he keeps going.
Improvement.
And slightly, don't worry. It gets worse.
You think he's
In the meantime, the cat slowly recovered. The socket of the lost eye presented a frightful appearance, but he no longer appeared to suffer any pain. He went about the house as usual, but, as might be expected, fled in extreme terror at my approach. I had so much of my old heart left as to be at first grieved by this evident dislike on the part of a creature who had once so loved me. But this feeling soon gave place to irritation, and then came the spirit of unreasonableness. I am not any more sure that my soul lives than I am that unreasonableness is one of the basic impulses of the human heart. Who has not 100 times found himself committing an evil or a silly action for no other reason than because he knows he should not do it? Have we not an unconscious need, despite our best judgment, to violate that which is the law, merely because we know it to be wrong? Okay, quick pause, because that was a whole lot to throw at you. Essentially, he's saying that people do bad things because they enjoy doing bad things. Sometimes it's just good to be bad. Like when your parents say, hey, get your homework done before you play a video game, and you go, of course I will. and you do it anyway. Or the teacher says, you're going to get tortured in class if you don't get your Simpson sheet done. And you're like, of course I'll get it done. And so sometimes we just get driven to make poor choices because we enjoy the effects of those poor choices. It's part of human nature to do dumb things. That's what he's trying to tell you here. Oh, in that first paragraph, what did he tell you is going to happen to him?
He dies.
Just keep that in mind.
I forgot to say.
This spirit of unreasonableness, I say, came to my final overthrow. It was this deep longing of the soul to anger itself, to offer violence against itself, to do wrong for the wrong's sake only, that urged me to continue and finally to complete the injury I had inflicted upon the innocent beast. One morning, in cold blood, I slipped a noose around its neck and hung it from the limb of a tree. Hung it with tears streaming from my eyes, with remorse in my heart. I hung it because I knew that it had loved me, and because I felt it had given me no reason or wrongdoing. No, I hung it because I knew that in so doing, I was committing a sin, a deadly sin that would so jeopardize my immortal soul as to place it, if such a thing were possible, even beyond the reach of the infinite mercy of the most merciful and most terrible God. Do you guys know what a noose is?
No.
Yeah. It's
It's the thing that my dad hangs on every day.
So that is what a noose is.
That's not
And so,
funny.
what did he use the noose to do?
Hang.
And so again, does he know it's wrong?
Yeah.
Why does he do it?
Because
the cat
The cat doesn't love him anymore, and he knows it's a bad thing to do. And so he takes, oh, not there yet. Takes cat and hangs cat. Pay no attention to that next picture yet.
He burned the house down.
Oh, by the way, I gave you a, and it took it away. What term that I just taught you?
Foreshadow.
Was that on purpose then?
Shh, not important. On the night of the day on which this cruel deed was done, I was aroused from sleep by the cry of fire. The curtains of my bed were in flames. The whole house was blazing. It was with great difficulty that my wife, a servant, and myself made our escape from the inferno. The destruction was complete. My entire worldly wealth was swallowed up, and I resigned myself from then on to despair.
Didn't we read this when we were doing point of view? Didn't we read the
We
informal
did.
part?
Nicely done.
I have a
Back
question.
to the point of view I pulled from this story.
How'd the house burn again?
You'll find out.
Oh, the cat.
I am above the weakness of seeking to establish a sequence of cause and effect to explain this to read, between the disaster and the crime. But I am detailing a chain of facts and wish not to leave even a possible link imperfect. On the day after the fire, I visited the ruins of my house. The walls, with one exception, had fallen in. This exception was found with a closet wall, not very thick, which stood in about the middle of the house, and against which had rested the head of my bed. The plaster had resisted the destruction of the fire, a fact which I attributed to its having been recently spread. Around this wall, a dense crowd of people was collected, and many of them seemed to be examining a particular portion of it with very eager attention. The words strange, extraordinary, and other similar expressions grabbed my curiosity. I approached and saw, as if imprinted upon the white surface, the figure of a gigantic cat. The impression was done with an accuracy that was truly marvelous. There was even a rope about the animal's neck. So he has no explanation for why the house burnt down, unfortunately for Reed. He was just saying, I'm explaining what happened. I hung the cat, and then I went to bed. In the middle of the night, house caught on fire. That's all I know. I have no idea why it happened. He goes back the next day. When he goes back the next day and sees the big smoldering house bits, there is one wall left up, which had his bed next to it. And then, did you catch what's going on with the wall next to his bed? So, have you guys ever seen, you can push into like putty and you can pull it out and like leave like an impression in the, back when you guys used to play with slime and you would smash the thing into the slime and then pull it out and it has like that impression?
I did that to my face.
Same thing happens here, where there is an impression of a cat smashed above where his bed was, like against the plaster of the wall. And so it has an outline of a cat sitting there, along with what's around the cat? And so there's an outline of a rope around the cat's neck against this wall. Now, where do we connect this cat and the rope to? And so now we have to try to find a connection between these things. And he has a perfectly good explanation for how this happened. And we'll see if you believe his perfectly normal explanation for all of this.
Area 71?
Felipe?
What was the wife while he was hanging his cat?
She was probably asleep because it was late at night and he came home drunk. So I'm guessing she was trying to avoid him because he does not sound like a good person. I don't think she was waiting up to give him like a brownie. I think she was probably hiding under the covers. All right. When I first beheld the ghostly... Oh. Yeah, I don't want to go any further. We'll stop there. Because I only have like a minute and a half and I don't want to keep going because we're going to get to the good part where we find out his explanation for what happened and we're going to save that for tomorrow. We are definitely in the rising action at this point. Your homework is not to read this. Your only homework is IXL. Tomorrow we get to find out what happened with little kitty cat. Oh, so you know about our joy that's coming?
I finished my own, so
Parents, they're the worst, Matthew. That's fine.